Hey guys, so part 2 of the video on January 25th. This was a Wednesday 4 years ago. I had a divine intervention experience, and this was the day where the decision that I had made the day before I put into action on this day. And this is when, I believe, I don't know if you believe this, I believe that when we get off course, or when our angels and spirit guides know that we need a little boost, they come in. And this is when you hear of miracles and divine intervention and, nothing short of a coincidence or how it magically happened. I experienced this 4 years ago today, so I wanted to share that with you. So I attended a women's moms small group at the church that I went to 4 years ago, and every Wednesday we would get together for a Bible study, all of us moms with our kids, and they would play, and it was the one time that I got out of the house and got to communicate with other people. It was a saving grace when my mom had gifted me her car, that I could finally leave the house on my own. And I remember that was just such a huge moment. A lot of drama went into that, of course, with a narcissist for years, and the power and the control that they had to have. I lied to my mom about that car. When she gifted that car to me, she did not want his name on it, and he forced me to, and I had to lie to her about it, and so much drama. But either way, I had a car, I had freedom. I was going every Wednesday to a small group, and that morning in particular, 4 years ago, they had said, hey, something came up and we're gonna have to switch the days. We can't do it on Wednesday anymore. And I spoke up. Last night I was gassed up. My friend, was just, get a job, right? What's it gonna say? And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna get a job. So when they said that they weren't gonna do it on Wednesdays anymore, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to come anymore, you guys. This has been great, but I'm not gonna be able to come because, and tears started falling down my eyes, because I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna leave him. And what happened next, the only thing that I can explain this by is like word vomit of God speaking through me. I don't even remember what I said. It was all of the times, including the most recent, the attacks, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, everything that I had went through, I was just spewing out at them. I can't come anymore to these groups because I'm getting a job and I'm leaving him because of this. And all of it came out. And I remember it as like a hyper slow motion. It was like these women lifted up out of their chairs, like floating around. The next thing I know, I'm like on the phone with someone, like a crisis hotline in the other room. And then a couple hours later, I'm in the courthouse getting a temporary protective order. And it all happened so fast. And, a lot of people ask me, well, what really was the last straw? Like, what made you leave? And it really wasn't one thing. It was just the energy of someone else gassing me up. Then, divine, like the next thing. And I spoke something, and the right people were there at the right time. And I think that this higher power knew that I needed support in that moment. And that is what God does. God puts people on your path for a reason, whether they stay for just a season or a chapter or a lifetime. Everyone that you meet is on purpose for a purpose. And those women in that small group, I cannot thank enough. Their courage, their swift action, their nurturing mothering guidance just poured love and new life into me that day. And I was so held and carried throughout the process. And I'll tell you kind of how I'll go a little bit in the backstory. You know, the first physical altercation, which would have been my red flag, you know, just a few months in, when I was pregnant with our baby at the time and he was withdrawing from opioids, we got into a physical altercation where he knocked me down on the foyer in our apartment. And I was probably about 4 months pregnant at the time, 3 or 4 months pregnant at the time. And I wouldn't give him money for pills, and he attacked me. So much trauma. But that was just the first physical altercation. Now, when you are going to get a protective order, unfortunately, this is how the system is against us in this way. It has to be recent. So luckily, well, not luckily, but that was on January 25th, right? So January 2nd, we were leaving his grandparents' house, doing Christmas, you know, like a late Christmas together, dinner and unwrapping gifts and stuff with the family. And, you know, his family gave the kids, you know, 3 at the time, so much chocolate and candy, and they were hyped up. It was late, it was dark, it was raining, it was crazy, and he couldn't handle that stress. Like, I had to be the bearer of everything and put it all together so not to upset him, right? And my oldest daughter as well. So we finally got all the kids in the car and we're driving home. It's pouring down raining and he's pissed that the kids are crying and it's late and it's all my fault. And, you know, I tell Ashlyn, you know, please put the phone away. The light was bright and the kids are, you know, I'm weird about that. Put the phone away. And she put it away for a second and then it opened back up and the light came back up and that set him off. And while he's driving the car in the rain, in the dark, loaded with all the kids, he is reaching back, grabbing her, you know, the car is shaking. There were so many moments in those 7 years with him that I thought that I was going to die. And that was one of them, all of us in the car. And, you know, he's cussing at her and we're on the way to meet her dad. And it was just one of those very cringe-worthy moments. And, you know, that was a physical altercation. That was an attack. That was verbal abuse. That was physical abuse. You know, that was him putting us in danger. And that happened within the 30-day period. So I was able in the commissioner's office to tell that story and all of the other things kind of leading up to that. And I was granted a temporary protective order through the commissioner's office. They still needed to serve him with the papers. And I kind of explained my story that he wasn't home. Don't come home right now. I'm with his mom. Just very terrifying times. And now that I'm like speaking this and sharing this story, it's all so surreal that I'm living this life right now. So I'm sharing this with so much vulnerability. And if you know of someone who is in a domestic violence relationship or you think that they may be, please forward them. It's going to be a 3-part series video. So yesterday was part 1. This is part 2. Tomorrow's going to be part 3. And this is how I did it after 7 years of mostly verbal, emotional, and mental abuse. And that's why I stayed for so long. There was physical abuse, you know, not the first time. There was, you know, that was the last time. There was a time in between where he punched me on my birthday night, on my 30th birthday night, twice, giving me a black eye, and I still didn't leave. So if you know of someone that this would benefit, I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to share my story. I'd love to help. That's why I'm doing this. If this can reach someone and change their life, I believe that I was given this new life to offer that. And I have a great purpose now. So I'm passionately living that out. And that kind of recaps that Wednesday. I had so much support from those moms at church. They, watched the kids while I went by myself to the commissioner's office. The police were receptive in saying, okay, we won't come tonight. We'll try tomorrow, or the next day. I think he was coming home the next day. And I went to bed that night. I went home, and she would kind of come back in the bedroom. So I knew that night that I was leaving. I was granted that protective order. I knew that they were going to serve him the next day, and I was going to leave, and they were going to come. The women from the small group were going to come the next day, which is January 26th, to get me. And that night I stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning, just packing what I could in contractor bags and kind of like hiding them in the shower in the bathtub in case she had come in. And that was a very stressful night, but I was on a mission. And I had lined things up so well. It worked out. And this is what happens when you take a risk. When you take a big risk and you have support, magic happens. The universe aligns with your heart, with your desires, and just miracles, magic happens. And it's so scary. I know it's so scary. But when you can make that bold move, God will not let you down. Seek out that support. We are here. We are all around. You are not alone. So, part 3 tomorrow when I leave.